This is a quick video about Allform sofas, which is a mail order furniture service that we decided to try. So you'll see that it comes in separate packages, and the shipping was a little on the slow side, but I think actually compared to other and comparable services, it was a bit faster. You can see it comes in separate boxes, and each of these corresponds to a different piece. So depending on the configuration you order, you're going to get a different number of boxes. And so, as you can see here, they're fairly large, but I was still able to carry this upstairs by myself, although it wasn't easy. Opening this up, the packaging is pretty straightforward. Everything seems pretty well cared for. They have these kind of like double lined plastic bags. Just make sure everything doesn't get scuffed or anything like that. So what you see here is one of the, this box was for a seat compartment, and this is the chair back to it. And then wrapped in a similar fashion is the cushion that would correspond to that back, which we can just kind of set aside. Also in the same box is the seat portion, which is probably the bulkiest of all of them. And then remaining is just the seat cushion. And overall, my first impression was that I really like the way this furniture and the fabric feels. It seems like it's going to be really durable and hold up to the test of time and use. A different kind of box has the arms in it separately. So this is what's going to be on either end of our sofa. And I should mention that we got one with 3 seats plus a chase, so it's a 4-seater. And then also included this box was the hardware collection as well. This is what one of the arms looks like. So these actually end up going on last, so I just set them aside. Then peeking into the box with all the hardware, you'll see lots of the feet or legs, and then these long boards are actually what end up connecting and holding each of the components together. The nice thing about the assembly mechanism is that it's tool free, and so if you aren't handy with power tools or you want something more straightforward, then this is a nice option. Everything just kind of hand screws with those T-screws there. I did find myself wishing that I could use a drill at one point because I did this alone and it got kind of monotonous doing all that hand tightening. Deep buried in under everything was the instruction booklet. And it looks like they send the same thing no matter what you order. And they go into good detail about this. And you kind of have to search for what your configuration would be in order to follow directions. But they're pretty easy to follow. So this is how it goes together. You start with the seat back lying on the ground, and then the seat base to it has a corresponding piece that slides in. And this lined up pretty nicely. You will have to make a couple adjustments just to make sure that the screws go in to the appropriate thread. And each one of these has a corresponding washer that you can easily just take care of yourself. So it's good to kind of tighten these down in an even and balanced way. So I did this for all 4 of the components that would complete the couch. And so the next step is to connect them together. And the way that this happens is there's 2 pieces to it. The first is this pin, which screws in to the rightmost component. And I found this to be easier with it sitting up in its more final position. And so you'll be able to see the pin screws right into that area, and it'll be a corresponding female end on the left-sided component there. And the way this fits together, basically it goes in and then downwards. So you kind of have to lift it up, make sure it's fully engaged, and then kind of wrestle it together so it locks downward, and that holds it in place. This is actually kind of challenging to do alone. It would be helpful, but was able to end up getting it done. Got the hang of it by the end of the couch. So tipped it back up forward, and that was the only thing I had help with for. So this is something you could potentially do alone. And then these boards, you can see there's multiple screw threads, and they fit nicely into that recessed portion on the underside. And pretty straightforward how this would link them together. Ends up needing 4 of those T-screws. And then the instructions, they kind of outline, starting with the top left, then the bottom right, and then kind of zigzagging through and making sure it's nice and even. Try not to tighten down until the very end when everything's nicely aligned. So pretty easy, but it does get kind of monotonous depending on how large your furniture is. So here's everything together. I ended up needing to do 3 of these boards, and you can see where the arms would kind of fit into place on the edge. The arms are basically the same mechanism, but that board is built into it. And so that'll slide into the recessed portion. And there's also the same pin locking mechanism at the top. And then, like, I kind of struggled with getting this on the seat backs. It was even harder for the arms, and I really kind of had to wrestle this in to make sure everything was aligned. But I suppose the harder it is to get into place, the more secure and harder it would be to have it come out of place with use. And then once that pin piece was nicely aligned, they just screw together. The last and final step is just to add the feet, and there's a place on each of these boards for those to go into place. Each have like this little red cap on them and slide into threads, but on one of my holes, I just showed it there, the female threading was actually missing. So that was unfortunate, and that foot is just kind of loose. I might have to see if I can wood glue it in there or secure it somehow. Overall, really like the look of these. We added some old decorative pillows that we had lying around, and really pleased with kind of the general aesthetic. It's really simple look, and I think it could fit into most places. The fabric feels really heavy duty. It's kind of thick and quite textured, actually, which I enjoy. And then the cushions are more supportive than I was anticipating, which is something I prefer. Also, the couch itself isn't terribly deep, or not notably deep. So if you're someone who likes a really deep couch, this has a little bit more of a narrow, slimmer profile to it. But overall, really comfortable, supportive, and we'll see how it lasts the test of time, but I'm reassured that this is going to be a very durable couch. In addition, they kind of tout their fabric as being stain-proof, which isn't something I'm going to readily try, but I'm hopeful that it'll stay looking as good as it does today a year from now.